Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to English Mastery Hub. I'm Mr. Liam Carter, and I'm very happy you are here with me today. Today, we are going to talk about something very important: how to learn English in a fun and effective way. Learning English is a journey, and like any journey, it can be exciting, enjoyable, and full of new discoveries. Many people think that learning a new language is difficult, but the truth is, it can be easy if we do it the right way. Think about this. When you were a child, you learned your first language without studying grammar rules or memorizing long lists of words. You simply listened, copied what others said, and slowly started speaking. Learning English can be just like that. If you use the right methods, stay consistent, and make it a part of your daily life, you will see amazing progress. I know that many of you might feel nervous or frustrated when learning English. You might think, English is too hard, or I will never be able to speak fluently. But trust me, you can do it. Everyone learns at their own pace, and every small step you take brings you closer to your goal. The key is to make learning fun and enjoyable so that it doesn't feel like a difficult task. Imagine being able to watch movies without subtitles, understand English songs, or travel to an English-speaking country and communicate with confidence. Wouldn't that be amazing? That is why today I want to share some of the best tips and strategies that will help you learn English in a fun, easy, and effective way. So, get ready! Whether you are a beginner or someone who already knows some English but wants to improve, this video will help you take your English to the next level. Let's begin our journey to learning English together. When I was younger, learning English felt like an impossible task. I still remember the first time I heard someone speaking English fluently. Their words flowed so smoothly, and I couldn't understand a single thing. It felt like they were speaking a secret language, one that I would never be able to learn. At that moment, I felt small. Like English was a huge mountain that I had no idea how to climb. At school, English classes were difficult for me. Every time my teacher asked me to read a sentence aloud, my heart started beating fast. My hands got sweaty, and I wished I could disappear. The words on the page looked confusing, and I struggled to pronounce them correctly. Sometimes, my classmates would laugh when I made mistakes, and that made me feel even worse. I started to believe that maybe English was just not for me. But deep down, I didn't want to give up. I knew that learning English would open many doors for me. I wanted to watch movies without subtitles, travel to different countries, and make friends from all over the world. So, I asked myself, how can I make learning English easier and more fun? One day, I read about a simple method to improve English: listening. At first, I didn't believe it. How can I learn just by listening? I thought. But I decided to try it anyway. I started small. I listened to English songs, even though I didn't understand most of the words. I repeated the lyrics and sang along, even if I mispronounced many words. Then, I started listening to English stories. At first, everything sounded like a big blur of noise. The words were too fast, and I couldn't catch anything. But I didn't stop. Every day, I listened for just 10 minutes. Then, I increased it to 15 minutes, then 30 minutes. Slowly, something amazing started to happen. I began to recognize words. The sounds that once felt confusing now started to make sense. I could hear common phrases like, "How are you?" or "What's your name?" and understand them without thinking. After a few months, I noticed an even bigger change. My fear of English started to disappear. I realized that my ears had gotten used to the language. When my teacher spoke in English, I could understand more words than before. I still couldn't speak fluently, but I felt more comfortable. Feeling motivated, I decided to practice even more. I started repeating what I heard. If I watched a video in English, I would pause it and try to say the sentences out loud. Sometimes I stood in front of a mirror and practiced speaking to myself. It felt a little silly at first, but it really helped me improve my pronunciation and confidence. I also started reading simple books in English. At first, I had to look up many words in the dictionary, but over time, I needed the dictionary less and less. I still remember the first book I finished in English. It was a small story about a lost cat. The moment I finished reading it, I felt so proud of myself. It was proof that I was getting better. Then, I started writing in English. Every night, I wrote a few sentences about my day. In the beginning, my sentences were short and full of mistakes. But I didn't let that stop me. I kept writing, and soon my sentences became longer and more natural. After months of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, my English had improved so much. One day, my teacher asked me to read a passage in class. I stood up, took a deep breath, and started reading. This time my heart wasn't racing, my hands weren't shaking, and I didn't feel afraid. When I finished, my teacher smiled and said, "Well done." That was one of the happiest moments of my life. Looking back, I realized that learning English wasn't about being perfect. It was about practicing a little every day and not giving up. I learned that listening is one of the most powerful ways to improve. Even before I could speak fluently, my ears got used to the language, and that helped me feel more comfortable with English. If you are struggling with English right now, don't worry. I was in your position once. I know how hard it can feel, but I also know that you can do it. Just start small. Listen to English every day, repeat what you hear, and practice a little at a time. If I could do it, so can you. Listening is one of the most powerful ways to learn English. Before we can speak a language fluently, we first need to understand it. Think about how babies learn their first language. They don't start by speaking. They listen to their parents, family members, and the people around them. They hear the sounds, words, and sentences again and again. Then, one day, they start saying simple words like mama or dada. The same is true for learning English. Before you can speak well, you need to train your ears to understand the language. When you listen to English regularly, your brain starts recognizing words and phrases naturally. Even if you don't understand everything at first, your brain is learning the patterns of the language. Many people struggle with speaking because they try to memorize grammar rules and vocabulary without listening enough. But when you listen first, you learn how English sounds, how words are used in real conversations, and how sentences are formed naturally. The good news is that you don't need to sit in a classroom for hours to improve your listening skills. You can make listening fun by choosing materials that you enjoy. Here are some great ways to practice listening. Stories are one of the best ways to learn English. When you listen to stories, you hear real sentences, conversations, and natural speech patterns. The more you listen, the easier it becomes to understand new words and phrases. If you are a beginner, you can start with simple stories. Many websites and apps have short English stories with slow, clear pronunciation. As you improve, you can move on to longer and more complex stories. Music makes learning fun. When you listen to English songs, you are not only improving your listening skills, but also learning new words and expressions. Try this method. Choose a song you like. Listen to it once and enjoy the music. Look up the lyrics and try to understand their meaning. Listen again and sing along. This method helps you learn pronunciation, rhythm, and common phrases used in daily conversation. Plus, songs make words easier to remember. Listening to news reports is another great way to improve your understanding. News stories are usually spoken clearly and help you learn formal and professional English. If you are a beginner, don't worry about understanding everything. Start with slow news programs or English news made for learners. If you are more advanced, try listening to international news channels. I still remember the first time I listened to an English podcast. At first, everything sounded too fast. I couldn't separate the words, and I felt lost. But I didn't give up. I listened again and again, even if I only understood a few words. One day, something amazing happened. I was listening to a short English story, and suddenly I understood an entire sentence without translating it in my head. It felt like magic. That's when I realized that my brain was starting to think in English. After that, I made listening a daily habit. I listened to podcasts while walking, songs while relaxing, and stories before sleeping. Over time, my understanding improved so much that I could watch English movies without subtitles. The secret to improving your English is consistency. You don't need to understand every word, and you don't need to be perfect. Just listen every day, even if it's for 10 minutes. Your brain will start recognizing patterns, and soon English will feel more natural to you. So, pick a story, a song, or a news report, and start listening today. You'll be surprised at how much you improve. Many people believe that they need to be perfect before they start speaking English. They think, I will speak when I know more vocabulary. Or, I will practice when my grammar is perfect. But this way of thinking is a big mistake. Imagine a child learning to walk. Do they wait until they are perfect before they try? No. They take small steps, fall, and get back up. That's how they learn. Speaking English works the same way. You have to start speaking, make mistakes, learn from them, and keep improving. When we speak, we train our brain to think in English. The more we practice, the easier it becomes. If you only listen and read but never speak, it will be hard to use English in real life. That's why speaking every day is the key to becoming fluent. One of the biggest fears learners have is making mistakes. Many people worry about grammar errors, pronunciation, or using the wrong word. But here's the truth. Mistakes are not bad. They are part of learning. Think about how you learned your first language. Did you speak perfectly as a child? Of course not. You made mistakes, but over time, you improved. The same thing happens with English. Many fluent speakers of English made thousands of mistakes while learning. The difference is, they didn't let mistakes stop them. Instead of feeling embarrassed, they saw mistakes as lessons. Every mistake you make is an opportunity to improve. If you never make mistakes, you are probably not challenging yourself enough. So, embrace mistakes, laugh at them, and learn from them. The good news is that you don't need to live in an English-speaking country to practice speaking. You can do it anywhere. Here are some simple and effective ways to practice speaking daily. This might sound funny, but it works. You don't need a partner to practice speaking. You can talk to yourself anytime, anywhere. Describe what you are doing. Now, I am making coffee. The water is boiling. Talk about your day. Today, I woke up early. I went for a walk, and I listened to an English podcast. Practice answering questions. What did I do yesterday? Yesterday, I studied English for 1 hour and watched a movie in English. By speaking out loud, you train your brain to think in English. It might feel strange at first, but over time, it will become natural. Speaking with a real person is the best way to improve. You can find a language partner online, join an English-speaking group, or talk to a friend who is also learning English. If you don't know anyone who speaks English, don't worry. There are many apps and websites where you can find speaking partners from around the world. Even if you just talk for 5 to 10 minutes a day, it will help you build confidence. If you don't have a partner, you can still practice by using technology. Send voice messages, record yourself speaking, and listen to your own pronunciation. This helps you find areas where you need to improve. Use AI assistants, talk to Siri, Google Assistant, or any voice AI in English. Ask questions, give commands, and have fun practicing. Reading aloud is a simple but powerful way to practice speaking. Choose an English book, news article, or even a social media post, and read it out loud. It improves your pronunciation. It helps you get comfortable with English sounds. It trains your mouth and tongue to speak naturally. Even if you don't understand everything, keep reading aloud. Over time, your speaking skills will improve naturally. When I was learning English, I was afraid to speak. I thought, what if people laugh at me? But one day, I met a friend who was also learning English. We made a simple rule. We would only speak in English no matter what. At first, it was difficult. We made a lot of mistakes, and sometimes we couldn't find the right words. But we helped each other. When one of us didn't know a word, we tried to explain it in a different way. Slowly, something amazing happened. We stopped thinking in our native language. Words started coming naturally. We became more confident. After a few months, we could have full conversations in English without feeling nervous. That experience taught me an important lesson. Speaking is the fastest way to improve. If I had waited until I was perfect, I would still be waiting today. But because I practiced every day, I became fluent much faster. Imagine you are in a foreign country and you don't know the language. Every sign, every menu, and every piece of writing is a mystery. But what if you could slowly start recognizing words, understanding their meaning, and connecting them with real-life situations? This is exactly what reading does when you are learning English. Reading is one of the best ways to learn new words because it helps you see words in context. Instead of memorizing lists of vocabulary, you learn words naturally by seeing how they are used in real sentences. You don't just learn the meaning of a word, you also learn when, where, and how to use it. When you read regularly, you expose yourself to thousands of words that you might not hear in everyday conversations. These words become familiar over time, and soon they become part of your own vocabulary. When you read in English, you don't just learn individual words, you learn phrases, expressions, and grammar patterns without even realizing it. Here's how reading helps. You learn words in context. Instead of just memorizing a word and its definition, you see how it is used in a real sentence. This helps you remember it better. You improve your grammar naturally. When you read, you see how sentences are structured. You learn how native speakers form sentences, and over time, this helps you write and speak more fluently. You develop better pronunciation. Even though reading is a silent activity, your brain connects words with their sounds. When you later hear the same word in a conversation, it feels familiar. You build confidence in English. The more you read, the more words you recognize. When you see a word you learned in a book appear in real life, it feels exciting and motivates you to keep learning. Some learners make the mistake of choosing difficult books with complex vocabulary. If you pick a book that is too hard, you might feel frustrated and give up. Instead, start with simple books that match your current level. Here are some great options for beginners. Children's books are designed to be easy to understand. They often use simple sentences and include pictures to help explain the meaning of words. These books are a great way to start reading in English without feeling overwhelmed. Examples: The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carl Green, Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. Graded readers are books that are specially written for English learners. They use simple vocabulary and grammar, making them easier to understand. Many graded readers also include definitions of difficult words, so you don't have to stop and check the dictionary. Short stories are a great way to practice reading because they are not too long. You can read one story in a short amount of time and learn new words from it. Examples: If you find long paragraphs boring, try reading comic books or graphic novels. The pictures help you understand the story, and the dialogue is written in simple, natural English. If you want to improve your English with real-life topics, try reading simple news articles. Websites like BBC Learning English and News in Levels offer easy-to-read news stories for learners. Reading is powerful, but how can you make sure you remember the new words you see? Here are some simple techniques. Don't stop for every unknown word. If you stop to check the dictionary for every difficult word, reading will become slow and frustrating. Instead, Try to guess the meaning from context. Read the whole sentence and think about what the word might mean. For example, the sun was scorching hot, and he was sweating as he walked through the desert. Even if you don't know the word scorching, you can guess that it means very hot because of the words sun, sweating, and desert. Keep a vocabulary notebook. When you see a new word that is interesting or useful, write it down in a notebook. But don't just write the word. Write the full sentence where you found it. This will help you remember how to use it correctly. Example: word, curious. Sentence: the little boy was curious about the new toy and kept asking questions. Meaning, wanting to learn or know more about something. Reading out loud helps you improve your pronunciation and remember words better. Try reading a short paragraph or a dialogue from a book aloud every day. After learning new words from a book, try using them in your own sentences. You can write a short paragraph using the new words. Try to use them in a conversation. Create flashcards with the word and its meaning. When I first started learning English, I struggled with vocabulary. I could understand basic words, but when I listened to native speakers, they used so many words I didn't know. I felt frustrated because I wanted to understand everything. One day, I decided to start reading simple books in English. I picked up a book called Charlotte's Web, a children's novel. At first, it was difficult. I didn't know many words, but I didn't stop. I kept reading, and slowly, I started recognizing words I had seen before. I still remember the first word I learned through reading: whisper. I saw it in the sentence, "She whispered the secret to her friend." I guessed that whisper meant speak very quietly. Later, when I watched an English movie, I heard someone say, "Come here, I'll whisper it to you." I got so excited because I already knew the word. That moment made me realize that reading was a powerful way to learn vocabulary. The more I read, the more words I learned. Over time, I could read faster, understand more, and even use those words in my own conversations. Now, I love reading in English. It has helped me become more confident, and I no longer feel afraid when I see a difficult word. I know that if I keep reading, I will keep improving. When I first started learning English, I struggled a lot. I didn't know many words, and whenever I tried to write something, I felt lost. I would sit with my notebook, holding my pen, but my mind would go blank. I didn't know how to start, what to say, or how to put my thoughts into words. It was frustrating, and sometimes I felt like giving up. But one day, my teacher told me something that changed everything. She said, "If you want to improve your English, start writing every day. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. Just write." At first, I wasn't sure what to write about. I decided to keep it simple. I started by writing about my daily life. My first entry in my notebook was very short. Today, I woke up early. I ate breakfast. I went to school. I played football with my friends. It was fun. It wasn't perfect, but I wrote it. The next day, I tried again. I wrote about my favorite food. Then, I wrote about my family. Slowly, I started to write more and more. I learned new words, and I tried to use them in my sentences. One day, I made a mistake. Instead of writing, "I went to the market with my mother," I wrote, "I went to the mother with my market." When I read it later, I laughed at my mistake. But I didn't feel bad. Instead, I learned from it. I realized that mistakes were part of learning. As I continued writing, I wanted to write about more interesting things. I wrote about my school, my friends, and my dreams. I imagined myself traveling to different countries, meeting new people, and speaking English fluently. I wrote short stories about adventures, animals, and even superheroes. Writing became fun, and I looked forward to it every day. One day, my teacher asked everyone in class to write about their favorite memory. I thought for a long time. Then, I wrote about a trip to the countryside with my family. I described the green fields, the tall trees, and the sound of birds singing in the morning. I wrote about the fresh air, the delicious food, and the fun I had with my cousins. When my teacher read my story, she smiled and said, "This is very good. You are improving a lot." That moment made me feel proud. I realized that my writing was getting better because I practiced every day. I also started keeping a diary. Every night before bed, I wrote a few sentences about my day. Some days, I wrote a lot. Other days, I only wrote a little. But I never stopped. Writing helped me in many ways. It helped me remember new words. It helped me understand grammar. It helped me express my thoughts in English. The more I wrote, the more confident I became. Now, I enjoy writing. Sometimes I write letters to my friends. Sometimes I write poems or short stories. I even started writing my own little book. When I look back at my first notebook, I see how much I have improved. The sentences that once seemed difficult now feel easy. If you want to learn English, start writing. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Write about anything. Your day, your family, your dreams, your favorite food. The more you write, the better you will become. Keep a notebook and write in it every day. One day, you will look back and see how far you have come.